2020年12月25日，北京日报微博称，北京宣布进入战时状态系谣言，中共辟谣必是真。2020年12月26日，北京顺义区因新增2例中共病毒患者，随后全区进入战时状态。网页新闻称 ，CDC 警告，发现中共病毒第3种变异毒株，传播彻底失控，留给人类的时间不多了。在中共病毒肆虐1年后，传播彻底失控，中共政府才在上海市公共卫生临床中心成立首个新冠科，这是彻头彻尾的懒政。中共国统计局称，11月规模以上工业企业利润年率同比增长15.5%，带动煤炭行业利润增长。但为什么全国各地开始拉闸限电呢？环球时报称，英媒深度造假。女王致辞警示众人，虚假信息充斥网络，眼见未必为实。网易有钱 App 将于明年4月1日起全面停止运营。在大陆经济即将崩溃时，中共再一次将黑手伸向了所谓互联网经济的口袋，搜刮民脂民膏。环球网嘲讽川普总统签署了台湾保证法，表明中共对此法案的反对态度，但丝毫没有影响到美国政府对台军售正常化。新浪财经为稳定大陆百姓对物价飞涨的情绪，卖惨对比美国在新冠疫情下有5400万人缺足够的食物，遍地食物盗贼。10名参与送终的港人12月28日深圳接受事项秘密审判，被关128日，禁止见家人。法院外装甲车戒备，中共如临大敌。香港黑社会头目向华强之子向佐欲移民台湾，但被扒出有共青团背景，移民计划恐泡汤。
昨天的下午，大连市疫情防控工作新闻发布会通报，目前大连核酸检测工作已经全部结束。大连金浦新区10个社区被划定为中风险地区。
截至目前，全市核酸检测已经结束，全市检测637.9万人次，金浦新区多次检测298.4万人次。目前，经省总指挥部同意，将金浦新区雍正街道、古城甲区、光中街道的红旗社区、胜利东社区、友谊街道的金华社区、古城乙区社区、金海社区、康乐社区、兴民村、站前街道的连胜社区、盛滨社区共10个社区划定为中风险地区，并实施相应的管理措施。
截至12月22号，全省累计接种18万人，目前没有出现严重的不良反应。临床研究结果显示，新冠疫苗与其他灭活疫苗类似，一般反应主要表现为接种部位局部红肿、疼痛等，少数人因个体差异可能会出现发热、乏力、恶心、头痛、肌肉酸痛等，一般不需处理，可自行恢复。
在中共疫情下，大连、荆州再现去年武汉封小区现象，百姓难出难进，生活更是雪上加霜。云南打洛口岸归国人员均自费隔离费和核酸检测费用，外国人免费。祖国就是用这种方式欢迎百姓回家的，这个国你还想回吗？湖南长沙以共享单车扰乱出行为由，几乎回收了所有的共享电单车。这拍脑门的决定割了无数韭菜，为中共贡献了 GDP。政府帮助美国苹果公司在上海的工厂镇压讨薪工人。中共政府打着为人民服务的口号，专门为外国政府谋利，这是赤裸裸的卖国行为。 中共大陆在19寒天里，百姓烧煤取暖被起义，用电取暖被断电，没人性的治国方式，让每一个大陆百姓都生活在18层地狱里。12月28日，林卓廷因被中共认为透露721调查人身份，而在家中被廉政公署的人带往北角联署总部，但被捕时，廉政公署人员没有证实个人身份。下午2点30分，将在东区裁判法院提审。美国一名护士在注射冠状病毒疫苗后，在接受采访的镜头前明显表现出不适后晕厥，并在注射疫苗17分钟后死亡。这疫苗到底是防病的还是害命的？
Heard about this case from South Africa, a woman who arrived here in Queensland on the 22nd of December was immediately placed into hotel quarantine and tested, and genome sequencing has come back to show that she has this new variant that has been picked up in South Africa that is thought to be more contagious.
We can report also today that it has been identified one overseas individual who arrived in Queensland on the 22nd of December has tested positive for the new South African variant. This will be the first positive case of the South African variant in Australia. We have seen other jurisdictions record a UK variant, but this is the first time the South African one has been identified in Australia.
US Forces Korea has started administering COVID-19 vaccines to frontline healthcare workers in South Korea. A US FK official said on Monday that the Moderna inoculations would start Tuesday at US bases in Osan, Gunsan and Pyeongtaek. The vaccine is voluntary. South Korean service members who work with the US FK will likely be allowed to take the shot if they request it. However, Seoul's defense ministry said on Monday the US FK made an official request for formal consultations on whether the South Koreans can take said vaccine.
If Perdue and Loeffler lose, are Americans going to be looking at new and or higher individual taxes, higher corporate taxes, a carbon tax, a reinstatement of the Obamacare tax mandate, all of which will achieve what Joe Biden has planned, a $4 trillion tax hike?
You're exactly right. And he said that he would repeal the Trump tax cuts. He would raise the business taxes. He would begin implementing the Green New Deal. And then they're going to put everybody into government-run health care. That means no private sector health care, no health insurance from your employer. And it means that 57 million Americans that are on Medicare, everybody will be going into Medicaid. They're also going to expand the Supreme Court and give statehood to D.C., a city. Give statehood to D.C. and also to Puerto Rico, thereby having a Democrat majority that would be hard to ever get rid of. Now, that is their first 100-day agenda. And And don't take my word for it. Take Chuck Schumer's word for it. He said, first, we're going to go take Georgia, not win it, not fight for it, not try to earn the vote, but take it. And then they're going to change America. And I don't think that's the kind of change that people are looking for.
Well, Jim, you've used some quite ominous language about a likelihood of a war between the United States and China because of China's increasingly aggressive behaviour both in the South China Sea and towards Taiwan. Do you want to expand a little on what you've had to say on the record today?
Catherine, good evening. Yes, I've spoken about this for some reason, and maybe it's associated with the grey zone conflict that we're in at the moment. But there's been a lot of attention to it in this kind of between Christmas and New Year.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because there's nothing else to talk about, but I reckon there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
What I've said is that war between the United States and China is not just possible, it's more likely than most people are prepared to estimate. And by not talking about it, by not admitting the possibility of it, we increase the risk of it occurring. Now, I've never maintained that war is inevitable between the United States and China. And if we add in the idea of alliances into that, see, I cannot imagine a war where China attacks Australia. But what I can imagine, and there's 1,000 reasons for it, what I can imagine is a war between the United States and China, which we in Australia can't deter. What we've got to be able to do is deter collateral attacks on this nation out of a war between those two nations.
And I hope you had a happy Christmas.
Thank you, Raheem. Yes, it was wonderful. I spent it with the family, which is always a nice thing, especially in this time of fear, because COVID is mainly about fear, and being able to be together with the families was, at least to me, but I'm sure to all your audience, is an essential point.
So, Jerome, I mean, really what we do with these Boxing Day specials is talk about whether or not there were highlights for you this year, and it's an incredibly hard year for that. But we just had Nigel Farage on. He can still find, some of the goodness out there, some of the goodness in people, some of the good things that have happened, and then also reflecting on where you see the world going over the next year. So let's start with 2020. I know it's been a rough old year for a lot of us, for most people out there, and there's been a lot of loss, there's been a lot of suffering, there's been a lot of totalitarianism and power grabs by government, and frankly, a lot of spitting in the face of the public, the same public that spat in the face of the establishment 4 years ago. But it's also been a good year and a growth year for your party, for your movement. Take us wherever you want to go here.
You know, if I were a conspirationist, and I'm not, I would say that the Chinese virus, the COVID virus, was made on purpose to be able to give the globalists some kind of tool in order to claim back what they are losing, because in fact the people are regaining power. And it is a fact in the United States. I mean, if you look at the results of the election, I don't know what will come up in a few days on January 6th, but no matter what the outcome is, there is an amazing number of Americans that decided to vote for President Trump. He has embodied a new Republican Party, which for once now is the party of the people. We have the same thing all over Europe. The populist party, the People's Party, are really claiming more and more ground. But COVID came, and the government in place, at least in Europe, and this is the case with Macron in France, decided to use that and to use the fear to be able to rein in. And they even use this word. They are reining in the people, because they tell us that this is terrible, this is extremely scary, that we are all going to die, that it's doomsday coming unless you listen to your government, do what the government is saying. Whereas when you look at it, it is indeed a terrible disease. It is indeed something that we have to fight for. But disease risks come with life, and we have to understand that we have to grab our lives back. In France, we're fighting against some specific things, and it happened a few days before Christmas. Macron and his government decided that they wanted to make the vaccine mandatory. They wanted to prevent people that did not have the vaccine to be able to travel, to be able to go out to restaurants. And as much as I'm a believer in vaccination, which is a good thing, it's up to each person to decide whether they want that in their body or not. And the fact that they are doing that, especially in Europe, where the condition in which the vaccine are being acquired, it is acquired through the European Union, the Commission. They refuse to disclose the price. They refuse to disclose who negotiated what. So we don't know if there are some specific interest. It is something that interrogates us, and that shows how we have a rise of soft totalitarianism. I call it soft because they don't have camps in which they put us yet, but it is totalitarianism because they don't allow you to talk. And in France, Professor Raoult, which is, I think, quite known to some American listeners, is a professor that believes in the use of hydrochloroquine, is a very well-known infectiologist, is being sued by the syndication of doctors because he is expressing doubt about the fact that it is necessary to have vaccination. So you can see that there is the globalist movement is really scared about what's going on. They understand that the people are thinking, that the people do not believe that it's a free-for-all, that having mass migration is a good thing, that having no trade barriers with China is a good thing. So there are many reasons to hope. 2020 was tough. 2020 will be remembered as a bad year altogether. But I think it paves the way for people reclaiming their countries. We have Brexit. Brexit is finally done in 2020. So I think, as far as you are concerned, as a UK citizen, it is something that you had been fighting for, that the British had been fighting for, and it is great that it is finally happening. And I believe that the European Union, which I really don't like the EU, the Commission itself. I love Europe. My party, Marine Le Pen, we love Europe. We believe that nations should be together organizing themselves. But we don't believe in some kind of supranational power telling us what to do, what type of gunpowder to use, what type of food to eat. I think that EU is having huge setbacks, and those are great things. So, yes, I believe that we have to look forward to some good things going on in 2021. And who knows, maybe in a few days there will be some legal discussion and decision that will change everything for the outcome of the U.S. election as far as it is understood right now.
Look, I mean, I understand that the way the European press have covered this election, very much like the American press covering the election in 2020 as well. The foregone conclusions all along the way, and of course, it's unprecedented what we are expecting and hoping to happen.
这是一场人类上前所未有的话语权、信仰和宗教。 经济和政治、人性和道德一场彻底的大转变，无人可以挡，只是谁来改变。你扮演了什么角色，谁都挡不了，这就是时代。
我们真正是感受到了爆料革命这些东西深入咱们战友每个家庭、每个生命的每个部分，都是一家一家的支持爆料革命。 爆料革命成了很多战友生命中不可缺少的，而且是五湖四海，而且我真也没想到，世界上原来这么多战友支持我，无处不在，没有任何国家，没有任何地方，非洲的、南美洲的、亚洲的、东欧的、北欧的、西欧的。 那北美洲就不用说了，
全人类真正的开始了一个从来想都不敢想，就是消灭共产党，因为他杀了全世界人，这个仇多大？谁想送回去？永远不可能，没有一个人敢谈。
我发现咱中国人真是憋的时间太长，这个力量太大，集结真正的力量，准备着没有互联网的新中国。 我们每个人要扮演的角色，灭共没你不行。